Good day, everybody from all over the world. Welcome to our Shamans Directory live community event. And thank you for spending time with us today on your Saturday. And I am Mayumi Beckers from the Netherlands, and I am one of the founding members of Shamans Directory. And I feel truly glad to be here with you and honored to be the host. And for everyone, if you'd like to, feel free to say hello in the chat and where you're viewing from. And I also want to ask you to please settle yourself nicely in your sacred space, because today there's a beautiful presentation prepared that has a lot of information that we can all soak in. So please get ready to receive all these wonderful wisdom and knowledge that will be offered to us today. And for those of you who are new here, I will tell you a little bit about Shamans Directory, who we are. We are a nonprofit and global online platform dedicated to bring shamanic earth-based services to the world's doorstep. And we are inclusive to original people, First Nation healers, and modern-day practitioners. And our vision is to bring medicine people from around the world together and create a safe place where their gifts and services can be offered and accessed by individuals who are ready to try something new. And we hope that all of our offerings through Shamans Directory will inspire you to include shamanic healing, shamanic earth-based healing to your regular health and well-being routine. And we also welcome you to visit our website at shamansdirectory.com to learn more about us and also to join our global community. And during our live events, we don't offer live questions. So please feel free to use the chat to write your comments or questions there, and we will do our best to cover them throughout our event today. And now I would like to please introduce Cynthia Honores. She's a special guest for today and Shamans Directory Team Member, and she will be speaking around the theme, tuning into your soul's blueprint, the gifts of hummingbird medicine and the ancient cosmos. So Cynthia, welcome.
Thank you, Mayumi. It's so wonderful to hear you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for making the time today on your Saturday to be with us for the next couple of hours. And we're so excited to present this, the cosmos and everything that's going on planetary-wise in a beautiful way that will allow you to connect personally with what is happening. So I look forward to being with you today. And again, thank you for making the time to be here. Thank you, Mayumi. Thank you, Trisha, for the invitation to be with you.
Yeah, you're most welcome. We're truly excited for what you're going to offer to us today. And I just want to give a brief introduction about Cynthia and her work before we start. Cynthia was born in Peru, but grew up living in many parts of the world, including the Americas, Africa, and Europe. She obtained her degree in art history, mythology, and symbolism from the American University of Paris in France. And after a 20-plus year career working in the New York City art world, the year 2020 brought Cynthia the opportunity to reconnect with her Peruvian ancestry and be trained by Dr. Alberto Villoldo, founder of the Four Winds Light Body School, to become a certified practitioner of the Andean shamanic healing arts. In 2021, Cynthia continued her studies in depth psychology via the Center of Applied Jungian Studies. She also obtained her medicinal plant certification from Cornell University and channeled her passion for the alchemical healing power of plant spirit medicine into the study of the heart-opening wisdom of ceremonial grade cacao. Cynthia completed her cacao facilitator training through the School of Cacao and the Mayan Wisdom Project. And in 2022, following her lifelong passion and study of the cosmos, Cynthia aligned with the alchemical hermetic teachings of Matthew Kenny at Ancient Astrology and Jocelyn Starfeather at Sacred Planet. In 2023, Cynthia had the special opportunity to travel to sacred sites in Egypt and Peru with Jocelyn Starfeather, further reconnecting her with the ancient memory of her sacred calling. And today, Cynthia enjoys being of service via one-on-one alchemical client sessions and lovingly collaborating with friends in the healing arts to create monthly new moon cosmos, cacao, and connection circles via Cynthia's labor of love called Hathor Cacao. So welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, Mayumi. Thank you for the introduction. And again, so wonderful to be here and be of service, be in connection to everyone here today. Thank you again.
Thank you. So I know you have this beautiful presentation prepared for us and for our audience here today. So I just want to say, take it away here and share your screen.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. So again, everyone, it'll be a presentation. We'll start with a slideshow. The presentation will be a little bit of an introduction, a history of astrology. At the same time, we'll go into the connections between astrology and shamanism, and we'll conclude the presentation by talking about the current long-term cycles of Venus. So, and then as we are going to be receiving all of this information, we'll have a little bit of time to ground. We'll do a shamanic journey. So that'll be a little bit of an invitation for you to relax into your space and just take it in and see what comes through for you. So again, we look forward to being with you for the next couple of hours. And thank you, Mayumi. So I'll start sharing the screen. The first presentation will be the first hour or so together, including the shamanic journey, and then or maybe that'll take a little longer, but then we'll also have time at the end to have a little bit of exchange, questions, and anything that you might like to. All right, so here it is. I'll start sharing. And so here it is. We begin here. It's the presentation is with the gifts of hummingbird medicine, or tuning into your blueprint, to your soul's blueprint through the gifts of hummingbird medicine and the ancient cosmos. And here I just wanted to put this quote for you by Benoit Mandelbrot, which is so beautifully connected to everything that happens in the cosmos and how that's reflected on the earth. And we'll be diving deeper into the Fibonacci sequence as we go later into the presentation, but just wanted to start off by showing you these beautiful images of the cosmos and the sunflowers and the spirals and everything that is so connected sometimes as the mathematical sequences of the universe. And I love this quote by Mandelbrot, so I wanted to show it to you, which is, "My life seemed to be a series of events and accidents, yet when I look back, I see a pattern." So if you're familiar with those Mandelbrot patterns and the mathematical beauty of that, we'll be diving deeper into that as we get closer to the end of the presentation and talking about Venus and her beautiful patterns in connection with the earth. And then going further, going a little bit back in time, just to connect the cosmos with the earth, I wanted to show you this beautiful Venus of Losel. And so she, of course, was made about, here, let me just go back here, made about 20 to 30,000 years ago. There are different dates with the carbon dating, but in general, this is the more or less accepted date for Venus. And why I wanted to show you this is because from the ancient times, our ancestors have always been connected with the cosmos. And this is a beautiful representation of Venus. And here she's holding this incredible horn with 13 little stripes representing the 13 moons, the full moons of the year, meaning of the solar cycle. Because even back then, our ancestors could understand that by looking at the sun and understanding that there was a moment where the sun was going to come to its precise location again, that during that time, 13 moons would happen. So these are just the cycles of the cosmos that our ancestors have been looking at for millennia. And here, so just to give you a little bit of the ancient origins of astrology, it's a practice that the ancestors, or yes, our world ancestors started connecting with in the 3rd century BC. And here you can see in this image this little part right here is, so we see the sun, the moon, and Venus, the sun, the moon, and Venus. And even back then, because especially they were so close to us and so easy to observe, it was just wonderful for them to note their cycles and understand their timing. So I wanted to show you that image as well. And here, this Venus tablet, also from Babylon, after investigation, they also realized that this tablet was recording the cycles of Venus as a morning star, as an evening star, the moments that she would disappear and we wouldn't see her in the sky, and the moments when she would reappear again. And then, of course, this zodiac wheel from the Temple of Hathor in Dendera in Egypt. This is a little bit closer to us in time, even though it's like about 2,000 years ago, but it's now in the Louvre, but here you can see the representations of the constellations as well. And just to bring us closer to time and to our Native American ancestors here, just this beautiful representation of this star quilt with feathers. And this, you can see it in the University of Nebraska. So just to connect you with how our ancestors, brothers, sisters, always have connected to the sky. And so here, connecting you with a definition of astrology from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Says astrology is a divination that consists of interpreting the influence of stars and planets on earthly affairs and human destinies. In ancient times, it was inseparable from astronomy and medicine. The practice of astrology originated in Mesopotamia around the 3rd millennium BC and spread to India, but it developed its Western form in Greek civilization during the Hellenistic period. Astrology entered Islamic culture as part of the Greek tradition and was returned to European culture through Arabic learning during the Middle Ages. According to the Greek classical tradition, the heavens are divided according to 12 constellations of the zodiac, and the bright stars that rise at intervals cast a spiritual influence over human affairs. Astrology was also important in ancient China, and in imperial times, it became standard practice to have a horoscope cast for each newborn child and at all decisive junctures of life. And so here I wanted to connect you with this beautiful image of the sky. It contains perhaps some of the, the greatest constellations, about 88 constellations in total that we can see from here. But this is the path of the ecliptic. And I'll describe that a little bit more in the next few slides, but just so you can see the constellations in the sky. And so our ancestors noticed that the sun would travel in this ecliptic, and at certain times of the year, about 30 days or so, it would be in front of one of these constellations. And so they began to work out the meaning for the constellations as they traveled. So right here you see Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and then you go back into Sagittarius, and so on, and until you reach, of course, the constellation of Aries. And that's how it is. And it's the Earth going around the sun. Of course, the sun is static, but as the Earth moves, the sun, from the Earth's perspective, is in front of one of the constellations. And so here I just wanted to show you the slide of the ecliptic so you can see more or less what it looks like, just as I was describing right now, and the 12 constellations. So the zodiac signs come from the constellations that lie along the ecliptic, the red line, right here, as the Earth moves around her orbit around the sun. You can see there are the 12 constellations, which I'll describe a little more. And so the ecliptic is that. It's simply put, it's the plane of Earth's orbit around the sun. And as you know, the Earth is like tilted right there at an angle, but she continues to have that ecliptic, and it's where she intersects with the sun. And this is a beautiful image of the 12 constellations, the 12 classic constellations of the zodiac. And so sometimes people, might look at other constellations and ask, why are these other constellations not part of the zodiac? And again, it's because these are the 12 constellations that are in the path of the sun, the path of the Earth. And so our ancestors derived meaning from that there was a meaning between the intersection of both. Here is another picture so you can see the Earth, the sun right there, and the 12 constellations above, as if you were looking at from the outside, and this more like a bird's eye view of the constellations. So you see how it perhaps start looking, if you have your charts with you, you can see more or less the chart and how you can start seeing it. And depending on the time you were born, then a different house would be matching each constellation. But that's just to give you that background as well. And so now we get a little bit more into the connection between astrology and the shamanic healing arts. And so there are different types of astrology, different kinds of practices, and you can get specialized in different kinds of readings and different kinds of practices. The particular astrology that I practice is called Alchemical Astrology, and that is a beautiful type of astrology taught by Jocelyn Starfeather. And anyone who would like to learn more about it is always, it's Sacred Planet. You can learn, go through courses and everything. But this is the kind of astrology that I'll be connecting you with today. And the reason why I have loved practicing, and I love practicing it, is especially because of its connection to the shamanic healing arts. So here it is, connecting with this beautiful image of the hummingbird and connecting to your sacred purpose and epic journey through the mythic map guidance of your birth chart. So here I wanted to also speak about what is hummingbird medicine. What is this beautiful archetypal force that guides us in this journey? And so here I'll read this to you. So as we go around the medicine wheel during our journey, we eventually reach the part where we are called to connect with the place of our becoming. This can be the cardinal direction of the north, and the hummingbird is the guiding force that in some indigenous traditions is connected to this direction. The hummingbird can adeptly fly backwards, forwards, and even sideways. And in spite of its tiny wings, it can fly miles during migration journeys to reach its destination, transcending all limitations of space and time. So hummingbird medicine is about our possibility. It is about our sacred purpose. It is about connecting with our highest destiny, no matter how improbable. When we shift to the perception level of hummingbird, we are bringing the sacred into our lives. We are connecting with the realms of the soul, the mythic, and the archetypal. And we are trusting the journey. We are answering the call of spirit, and we are becoming co-creators with life. We are saying yes to the call, and we are now embarking on our epic journey, one that is filled with meaning and purpose. Art, alchemy, music, myth, synchronicities, and symbols are the language of the soul. Our birth chart is our soul's blueprint, and it contains the ancient symbols that guide our journey. It is the mythic map that our soul intended for this lifetime. It holds a beautiful encoded language that is there to support our highest destiny as we connect with our authentic self. Through this deep remembrance, we connect to our sacred purpose, to our divine timing, and to our highest possibility for this lifetime. We begin to work in the quantum field to become masters of cyclical time, and like the hummingbird, we come to taste the nectar of life. And so that comes from also the training, which I personally received the training through the Four Winds. So when we came to the north, after working with Sachamama in the south, which was the serpent, with Jaguar in the west, and all the processes that we had to undergo in those directions, we came to the north and were called to meet with Hummingbird and come to the place of our becoming and connect with our sacred maps and start tracing our journey. That's where we also learn soul retrievals and all of these processes so that we can then come to this place of the present and create from here, from an authentic place of the present. So that's why when I learn about, in hummingbird medicine, and then the chart to me just went hand in hand in such a beautiful way to start co-creating your map with spirit. And so now also quoting this beautiful, Carl Jung said this. He said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, and in all disorder a secret order. The starry vault of heaven is in truth the open book of cosmic projection in which are reflected," here, let me move this here, reflected the mythologems, i.e. the archetypes. In this vision, astrology and alchemy, the two classical functionaries of the psychology of the collective unconscious, join hands. And this was said by the father of depth psychology, Carl Jung, who was also known as the shaman psychologist for his ability to perceive the unseen realms and the archetypal world of the collective unconscious. So what is an archetype? An archetype is an original pattern of creation. According to Carl Jung, an archetype is a primitive, primal, universal mental image inherited from our earliest human ancestors and present in the collective unconscious. Archetypes are powerful forms of consciousness, and our birth chart connects us to these ancient guiding forces as we embark on our journey. And of course, what is alchemy? So medieval alchemy attempted to turn base metal into gold, and with spiritual alchemy, we are attempting to take base energy and turn it into clarity and brilliance, showing us the way of destiny in our lives. And here I just wanted to also show you this beautiful quote in this book from the Shamanic Mysteries of Ancient Egypt by Nikki Scully and Linda Starr Wolf. They're beautiful shamanic practitioners. And the alchemy of the heart is what I loved about this quote. And there they say, I'm sorry, it keeps moving back and forth like that, but in the heart rituals of ancient Egypt, which were not only about the physical heart, but about the energy of the heart, an energy of love, wisdom, and intelligence. The Egyptian word for heart is Ab, which is also the word for consciousness and desire. Abba, the heart soul, is the seat of consciousness and is the relationship form between spiritual will and the power of love. When we apply our deepest heart's desire to conscious alignment with the desire of a higher will, transformation happens and we can change our destiny. So that is just the beautiful ability to focus our attention, focus our intention in alignment, in connection with the higher will, that we can then create these shifts in our life to bring the reality that is aligned with the highest good. So what is alchemical astrology and how does it correlate to the shamanic healing arts? Alchemical astrology, as taught by Jocelyn Starfeather, the founder of Sacred Planet, connects us with the highest potential of our birth chart. It works with the Hermetic principles of ancient Egypt for our soul's journey of growth, transformation, renewal, and radiance. In line with the symbolic language of Jungian depth psychology, mythology, the elements, and the archetypes, it also provides deep connection to our soul and to our authentic self. As a practitioner of Andean shamanic energy medicine, I deeply resonate with alchemical astrology because it also beautifully correlates with the shamanic healing arts as follows. And so here I'm going to have 4 slides ready for you. And each of the slides is going to be connected to one of the elements. And that's also one of the beautiful things that is, you know, the shamanic healing art is all about the earth-based wisdom connecting to the elements of the earth. The practice of alchemy is also all about connecting to the elements. And of course, astrology has to do with the elements, because when you look at the planets, when you look at a chart, you're also seeing the balance of the elements in a chart. And so here are the 4 ways in which alchemical astrology is connected to the shamanic healing arts. Number 1, it illuminates inner wholeness by harmonizing the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine forces within. Carl Jung called the polarities of the feminine and the masculine forces operating inside us the anima and the animus. Often in astrology readings, the only 2 feminine placements considered are the moon and Venus. By also looking at the placements of key goddess asteroids in our charts, in addition to the classical masculine planets, we begin to feel a sense of rebalancing between the dualities operating in our inner world. This shift then starts a process of alchemical transformation in our psyche that allows us to feel a sense of inner wholeness, which then reflects in a harmonious outward manifestation. And just to give you an example of that, when I personally had my chart read for the very first time, and we consider the asteroids, the female asteroids such as Juno, Vesta, Ceres, which is the great mother goddess, and Athena, Pallas Athena, and seeing where those asteroids were also placed in the chart and seeing how they were interacting either with angles or with your personal planets, it just created an immediate shift in balance and in my personal mind. So just at a time when I was, because I also am classically trained in classical astrology, just when I was beginning to wonder, why is it that only the masculine planets are considered in a reading? Where are more feminine presences? Then all of a sudden the answer came with this beautiful way of reading a chart, which is through alchemical astrology. So I'm very, very grateful for that as well. And then the next way is it extracts our places of subconscious wounding and brings them to conscious awareness for transformation. The greatest premise of the great alchemical work is to transform our shadow into light. In the words of Rumi, the cure for the pain is in the pain. Alchemical astrology considers the asteroid Chiron and its natal placement in our chart. Chiron, the wounded healer in Greek mythology, shows us the place of our deepest wounding, but also the place where our brightest light can shine. So by consciously working with the asteroid known as the galactic shaman, we learn to transmute pain into purpose, transforming difficult placements into sources of power and wisdom. And so for me personally, just becoming deeply familiar with my Chiron placement and understanding the challenges, what I'm meant to alchemize, what I'm meant to transform, also has been very life-changing, just to understand, because the greatest thing when you take a look at your chart and then you understand your woundings and you understand the difficulties and challenges that you may have experienced in life, you can just understand that that was all of your soul's intention. So it almost removes this sense of the guilt, the shame, or anything that you might have done personally. It's simply just a way that your soul signed up in this lifetime to transmute, transcend, and transform all of those energies. And then the third way here, this beautiful flame in the background, it aligns us with the wisdom of nature and the cosmos, and it infuses our journey with mythic meaning. So our earth goes through cyclical seasons of creation and growth. Just like nature doesn't rush and she's always on time, so the cosmos is cyclical and connected with divine intelligence. Likewise, our soul goes through specific and time initiations on planetary movements. When we become aware of these cyclical patterns, we find comfort in understanding when we are being guided towards introspection and when we are more fully supported for empowered action. By seeing our charts as mythic maps with connected guidance for our journey, we can better align with the rhythm of universal flow. So here also just pausing to give a couple of examples, and if you have your chart with you. So two of the biggest planetary forces that are always, and if we can perceive the planets always as our teachers, always as guides, helping us to connect with a certain part of our journey. Every time, for example, Saturn, if you look at your chart and you see Saturn coming close to one of the planets, for example, the moon, Venus, or Chiron, it is going to be a time when you're going to be called to do work around perhaps your woundings or around your love, development of unconditional love, or your inner emotional world. So these can be very sensitive times. So it's just understanding that. It's also understanding what house, for example, Saturn is transiting over, and seeing, okay, am I called to do work around my self-development? Am I called to do work around my communication, if it's the third house? Am I called to do work around my daily habits, which could be the sixth house? And so on as it goes around the chart. And in a second, I'm going to show you a chart with all of the meaning of all of the 12 houses, so you can apply that personally to your life. And the fourth slide here, and this, of course, is where it becomes, we're connected with the element of air. So it works with the invisible realms in tandem with the principles of intention and quantum physics. David Bohm's quantum physics experiments with the particle and the wave theory demonstrate that our reality is created by where we place our attention. Energy flows where attention goes. We are each here with our own unique purpose to meet. Along our journey, we will find challenges, but while keeping sharp focus on our key points of support and empowerment, we stay aligned with our soul's intention. We begin to shift our reality, the momentum tunnel of our lives, turning probability into possibility and developing into the most radiant and most aligned expression of our soul. So pausing here to also give you a couple of examples, just as before we were looking at Saturn, seeing where, for example, if Saturn is in Pisces right now, he's going to be in Pisces. He started being in Pisces since March of 2023. He's going to continue to be in Pisces. Because Saturn takes about 29 and a half, 30 years to go around the sun, he spends about 2.5 years in each sign, meaning in front of each constellation. So wherever you have Pisces in your chart, for example, what house is it in? Those are the things that you're invited to work with. Similarly with Jupiter, while at the same time you're working with those challenges, Jupiter is also the planet that brings expansion, abundance, growth of wisdom. That's the archetypal representation of Jupiter. So taking a look at where Jupiter is transiting in your chart, for example, Jupiter just entered Gemini right now at the beginning of May. And because Jupiter, he's much closer to the sun, it takes Jupiter 12 years to go around, do one spin around the sun. And so about 1 year in each constellation. So this is the year of Jupiter, starting at the end of May and going until about the beginning of June. So where is Jupiter in your chart? Where do you have Gemini in your chart? Where is Gemini for you? What house? Is it touching any planets? Do you have any planets in Gemini? So seeing, for example, where Jupiter is going to be passing by in the next year for you, where are you going to be experiencing your luck, your expansion, your abundance, your joy? So again, tuning into those energies so that we are not only left with the challenges, understanding that we have to be working on the challenges, but also tuning into the energy of expansion. And as well, natally, if you have conjunctions of planets are always very strong in your chart. They're also gifts of guidance. If you have a sun conjunction to one of the planets, a north node, your midheaven, seeing where your midheaven is the highest point in your chart. That's also very helpful so you can understand what your gifts of empowerment are for this lifetime. And so here it is, just wanted to share this beautiful image that makes the constellations look like it's a clock. And everything has its right timing, and there is a beautiful universal order to the flow of things. I also wanted to show you this image because just as the planets continue to go around the sun and they make these conjunctions, they make these squares. Sometimes a square is a 90-degree angle, or a trine is an angle of support. As you're experiencing that, the intention is also, yes, it's going around in the circle, but not for you to feel like you're going around in circles. For example, the Saturn return, it's perhaps a transit that we're all familiar with, but the Saturn return happens. So you're born with Saturn in a certain part of your chart, and about 29, 30 years later, Saturn is going to come to that natal placement. So we experience it around the age of 29, 30. Our next Saturn return happens around the age of 58, 59, 60, and so on, 88, 99, 88, 89, 90. So every 30 years, you come to those moments of being called to do deep growth, deep maturity, deep mastery around certain themes. And we can look at the house, the sign, and everything where you're being called to that. But the intention is always for you to grow with each cycle. For every time that Saturn passes by those, for you to feel like you're doing it differently, for you to perhaps take another step in your evolution. And so here I love this beautiful chart that looks a little bit spiral, so that every time it feels like you go up a little bit in the spiral. And here, just if you would like to take a look, screenshot it, however you would like to do it, but this is just a beautiful, it's the 12 houses of the birth chart. So just like we have the 12 constellations, we have the 12 houses, and each of the houses has a meaning in your chart. And so again, looking at Saturn, where it may be passing by, looking at Jupiter, where it may be passing by in your chart, and seeing what you may be calling to work with and where you may be feeling expansion. So pausing there for just a couple more seconds so you can see that. We're going to connect to this chart in a little bit later as well, when we start talking about Venus specifically and her cycle, and to see also where these morning star and evening stars have been happening, so that for you to connect it with your chart as well, because that's also very meaningful. And so here are the ancient this is the ancient symbolic language of alchemy and astrology, if you like to take a screenshot of that as well. And so when you're reading a chart, it is like you're reading glyphs, like you're reading symbols. And of course, they each represent something different, you know, the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus. And beautifully, they are also the alchemical symbols for the metals. So, for example, Mercury is connected to the metals. Venus, this is also the symbol for copper. This is here, Mars is connected to iron. Jupiter is connected to tin. And so on, you know, Saturn is connected to lead. So that's why it's also like the transits of Saturn sometimes may feel like lead. And when you're breaking through into the light, the sun feels like gold. And that's what it is when you're navigating your chart, when you're looking at it alchemically, when you're understanding as well the connection between the planets, the metals, and everything on Earth, you also are able to see and feel everything almost like a little cauldron of energies that are working together with you. So, and then this is just an example of what a chart looks like. And so this is the birth chart. And again, you can see here all of the glyphs, all of the symbols. And the second chart is the inner wheel, is the chart. And then this outer wheel represents the current transit. So that's how you read the chart, for example. Then, of course, looking at what the symbols mean. Looking at this particular chart, for example, just to give you an example, we see this is the symbol of Mars. This is the symbol of Saturn, the symbol of Pluto. Three very, very, you know, it's definitely masculine planets, but also planets that invite you to do a lot of work and a lot of deep inner work. It's very, very much working with the shadow and in a deep place of the psyche, because this is the 12th house. And what is passing by the 12th house right now for this particular chart? The South Node. So the South Node, when it's transiting, is a very, very karmic part. So understanding this the South Node is, this is the lunar South Node. It takes about 19 months to transit and change to the next sign, that this is a cycle that we go through. And in this particular chart, this person may be going through deep moments of having to feel like inner work, working with the psyche, working with the subconscious, but that is the destiny. It's at that moment. And so knowing what you're feeling called to work with at that moment gives you a sense in a way of relief. Okay, I know how this is here. I know this is what I have to work with. And so with all of my intention, I'm going to start working with that. This person also has Saturn, for example, going over the moon. That is a very tough transit. So understanding that Saturn is going over the moon right now helps the person to prepare for this transit and even begin this dialogue with Saturn, because in the shamanic realms, that is the practice. Everything has a life, everything has a spirit, stones, the plants, the planets, everything. So when you begin this direct communication, this almost feeling like this planet is teaching you, what am I meant to learn right now? How am I meant to become masterful in this area? For example, if it's the moon, my emotional world, my psychic world, my world of connection to the other realms. So that is a transit. And because another thing that you can do to help, because the plants and the planets are connected, you can take things, for example, like horsetail to help you. The horsetail is connected to Saturn. Horsetail is connected to the skeletal system, the bones, like Saturn. So it helps you to have the strength for that. And a beautiful gem that is connected to Saturn is blue sapphire. So if you're going through heavy Saturn transits, for example, it's a beautiful idea to drink that blue sapphire elixir. And you can put a blue sapphire and drink your water. There are specific ways for doing that. And you can find this, of course, safe ways to do it in the internet and how to make a blue sapphire elixir. But pretty much is How I do it, I just put the blue sapphire in water, and then I let it sit for about 30 minutes or so. Then I give that water to a little plant or something like that. And then I let the blue sapphire sit for about 2-3 hours, and then I drink that water. And when you drink it intentionally with all of that energy of the gem, you also begin to feel a support. So that's called chart remediation. And so it allows you to see, okay, okay, I'm going through this, but how can I remediate it? How can I get stronger through it? How can I achieve this mastery? And what can help me to do that? So again, there are like these beautiful specific formulas that, I learned as well through my training with Matthew Kenny from Ancient Astrology, and that I love to apply personally to my life, and that have been very, very helpful. And so now, just taking a moment for you to pause and take that in. And so now we're going to go to this last part of the presentation, which is the long-term cycles of Venus, which is where we are now. So right now specifically, and I'm going to talk a little bit in a second about all of these cycles and how we connect to them. But Venus, very similar to the moon, has these cycles, where she's our new Venus, and then she goes into the waxing phase, and then she goes into the full Venus phase, and then into the waning phase. And all of that, for her, it's a process of 19 months, which very beautifully is connected to, in a way, they don't always exactly match. But if you're familiar with the transits of the North Node and the South Node, you know that they transit about 18 to 19 months, and they also change signs. So the Mayans knew this. That is how they were able to predict eclipses. And they knew that there was a deep, deep relationship between Venus and the moon as well. And of course, between Venus and the Earth, which is what now we'll be talking about for this next part of the presentation as we connect to these beautiful feminine forces, the archetypal forces of the feminine. And of course, with the sun, they all do have a relationship with the sun, this beautiful light, because as you'll see, this is all the dance of Venus and the Earth in relationship to the sun. So just to show you again a little bit of the ancestral connection, the connection of our ancestors, world ancestors through these cycles. This is the Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, Peru. And in this beautiful Temple of the Sun, you can see that they would align these windows to the alignments of the sun, and they would, of course, to the equinox, the solstices, and they would do ritual in these places specific to this timing. And this other beautiful example of another structure of the Mayas, this is El Caracol in Chichen Itza in Mexico. And this beautiful El Caracol was built specifically to honor the cycles of Venus, so that each window up in the top would be aligned to the rising or the setting of Venus, especially as she rose as the morning star, because that would also be a very, very important time in the Mayan calendars. And so here, just to give you a little bit of this information with Mayan astronomy. So it says the Maya studied the sun, the moon, and Venus, and their observations included some visible bodies such as Mercury, Mars, and other stars. Their priests, the greatest astronomers of the time, succeeded in calculating solar and lunar eclipses, the rising and setting of Venus, and the movements of stars and planets, as well as the solar year with great accuracy. Even today, scientists are amazed at the development of Mayan astronomy. For the ancient Maya, astronomy and cosmology were closely linked in their mythical conception of the universe. Known as the Lords of Time, the Maya, and I love how they say the Lords of Time, because that is also what Saturn was known as, as the Lord of Time. And almost like this beautiful like clock moving around the cosmos as well, and marking specific initiations that we all have to go through. So it says, known as the Lords of Time, the Maya were unique in elevating to the rank of gods not only the idea of time, but also the periods into which it is divided. They represented time as supernatural beings whose mission was to maintain order in the universe. The Mayan gods of time completed their life cycle in a constant circular movement, beginning with their birth, developing with the manifestation of their characteristics, and finishing with their death. They were then reborn, and a new cycle of birth and death was begun. And so similar as well to the cycle of the moon. Like in the new moon, it's like she wanes. We don't see her for 3 days while she's in the dark, and then she begins her crescent phase and begins growing again, becomes the full moon, wanes again, and so on and so on. The same thing with Venus. So they were so understanding of these cycles and how they applied them to ourselves. And here just a beautiful representation. This is some of the pages of the Dresden Codex. This is in Germany, and where you can see the calendar of the Mayas. And in a second, we're going to get into the 5 pentacles of Venus, but each one representing one of the 19 cycles, the 584 days that it takes Venus to complete a journey. And of course, there are the short-term cycles of Venus and the long-term cycles of Venus. I'll explain this in a second, but it takes 225 days for Venus to go around the sun because she's closer to the sun than the earth. And during that time, she will spend time in each sign. And so, of course, when Venus is coming to our personal Venus, that is always a time when we feel like the extra oomph of like our heart, ourselves, our feminine qualities enhanced. If you have Venus in Aries, when you hear Venus is coming to Aries, it's like a time where your Venus is enhanced. But apart from that 225-day cycle, she also has a longer cycle. And this is the cycle where she's drawing the petal, the rose petal. And I'm going to show that to you in a second. But here, hundreds of years ago, the Mayans were tracking this cycle. 584, they knew exactly how long it was that Venus was going to be here. And they show it right here in this 236 days as the morning star. And she would disappear from the sky, or she would go into the underworld, as they would call it, 90 days and reappear now, which is the transit that we're in right now. Venus is, if you were to look for Venus in the sky, you wouldn't be able to find her either in the morning or in the evening, because she disappears. And right now on July 10th, she began to reemerge in the sky. So you can see it. You can start seeing her with the apps. If you have Skyview app on your phone, for example, it's a beautiful app that you can point to any part of the sky and see what you're looking at. So if you have that in your phone, you can already see she's already beginning to ascend in the nighttime sky above the horizon. And as the days progress and she goes deeper into the 250, we'll see her approaching Earth and getting brighter and brighter and brighter each evening. And then again, she will disappear for 8 days and then begin her new cycle as the morning star. So that's just to give you a general picture. I'm going to be explaining it more in the next stars. But this is the beautiful pentagon that Venus and the Earth draw together. And so this is the source from Ariel Gutman from Venus Star Rising in her beautiful book. If you want to learn more about the cycles of Venus, I deeply recommend going into this book. But here she says, Venus is by far the brightest object in the sky after the sun and the moon. The dazzling brilliance contributes to the power and intensity this planet possesses. In relationship to Earth, Venus produces a pentagram, the 5-pointed geometrical shape that we refer to as a star. The ancient sky watchers referred to Venus as a star, more specifically the morning star or the evening star, depending upon what point of the night she was visible. These two faces of Venus were seen as embodying two characters. The morning star was likened to the warrior. The evening star was viewed as the lover. And in a second, I'm just going to talk about and show you another beautiful image of what it meant to be morning star, the warrior self, not necessarily like aggression, but it has more to do with the energies of protection, and the evening star as the lover. And connecting now the cycle of Venus, the golden ratio. The golden ratio, also known as the golden number, is a golden proportion, or the divine proportion, is a ratio between two numbers that equals approximately 1.6. Usually written as the Greek letter phi, it is strongly associated with the Fibonacci sequence, a series of numbers wherein each number is added to the last. So you see 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Each number added to the last adds to the following number. And so here is a relationship between Venus and the Earth. And you can see that they are very similar in size. You know, they almost look like little twins when they are seen together, these beautiful sister planets. And here, just a little bit more of an explanation on Venus and the golden ratio. So the golden ratio can be seen in geometry, nature, art, architecture, and virtually everywhere we look. The proportions of the golden ratio, which are 1.6, were considered to be the most beautiful to the aesthetic eye. When we compare the cycle of Venus around the sun, which is 225 days, with the cycle of Earth around the sun, 365 days, we can see that this equates closely to the golden ratio of 1.6. When we compare the Venus-Earth cycle, which is 584 days, with the Sun-Earth cycle, 365 days, we can again see the golden ratio represented, 1.6. So just the beauty of the universe, the mathematical wisdom of the universe, and how almost everything is just so beautifully, divinely orchestrated. And yeah, so here it's a little bit mathematical and astronomical we're getting here, but at the same time feeling like it's so important to share this with you so you can see this beautiful relationship between the Earth and the Moon. And here it is, the Venus cycle is the 19-month dance of Venus with the sun, and represents her feminine wisdom, the mysteries of life, death, and resurrection. So here is a little bit more so that you can see the Venus cycle. So the 4 phases of Venus are this, and I keep moving because I just have to shift the camera. So here are the 4 phases. So when she's in the new Venus phase, this is what happened in August of 2023. When she goes retrograde, she does this about every 19 months, Venus goes retrograde. And so in the new Venus phase, and in a moment, we're going to be applying this personally. So I just want to give you all of this background so you can have this understanding of Venus and her cycles so that you can then apply it to your chart. But just to give you this background information as to what is happening with Venus in the sky. So the new Venus phase, which is again, lasts 8 days, and it's when Venus is right here close, you know, between the Earth and the Sun, it's her new Venus phase. So this is called the Venus retrograde. She disappears from the sky for 8 days, and then she reappears as the morning star. That lasts for about 236 days, and then because she's out there further away, this other cycle lasts 90 days. So we have to wait for Venus then to go behind the sun. And for 90 days, she disappears from the horizon. And we can't see her in the morning or the evening. And about 90 days later, which is where we are now, she reemerges as the evening star right here. And I love this diagram because it makes it look so beautifully connected to the moon again. And so with the evening star, and here are just some also keywords from different traditions and how they connect. The morning star phase, they connected again to that warrior energy, which I'm going to more explain in a little bit. The Egyptians connected it to, they would call Venus Theomutiri in ancient Egypt. Phosphorus in ancient Greece, because in Egypt and Greece, they would think that they were 2 different stars. Eventually, they realized this is the same star. This is the same force. This is the same planet. It's just that we're seeing her in different times. The Mayans connected that energy to Quetzalcoatl, and even modern astrologers, because Venus connects with the energy of Taurus and connects to the energy of Libra, they assign 2 different expressions of Venus. So in Venus as a morning star, they would connect it to Taurus, and evening star phase would be more the energy of Libra. So the lover, Uwati, in the ancient Egyptian tradition, in ancient Greece, they would call her Hesperus, and Xolotl in the ancient Mayan tradition. And here again, just one more diagram for you to see that. Another image of Venus like that, and the underworld phase of the Venus cycle, and just what it looks like, you know, Venus far away, And that's why when she first begins to emerge as the evening star, we still see her very faint because she's far away still. And she's going to work her way around her orbit. And every day during those 9 months, she's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger in brilliance. And so it's beautiful. Like a couple of nights ago, precisely on July 10th, because I was waiting for her reemergence, I went out to try to look for her, and I took pictures with my phone. And I invite you to do the same, just to connect, just as we connect with the cycles of the moon, to begin connecting with these cycles of Venus, because it's so amazing what starts as well to shift as we connect and we are aware of her presence and knowing where the energies of Venus are, and seeing and noticing how do you feel. Especially now we're going to apply it to our personal charts. And how do you feel as she emerges? How is the evening star connecting to you? And later on in the call, I'll also show you how you can find out if you're a morning star, if you were born when Venus was a morning star, or if you were born when Venus was an evening star, and what that might mean for you and in your path. And so here it is, the meaning and the cycles of Venus. So this is the last bit of the presentation. And so that if you have your chart again with you, and in a few minutes, we're going to be connecting with a shamanic journey for you to relax and take this information in. And we're going to do a journey to connect with the cosmos, with Venus, with the moon. And in a second, I'm going to show you a slide for that, but also connecting with the energy of Hummingbird. But just before you go there, so that we can have almost this as guidance before we take our journey. So this is so that you can see Venus takes 19 months it's almost like it takes 19 months to draw a petal. And this is the long-term cycle of Venus, which is 8 years. So say, for example, if it started right here, let me just point to one direction so that you can see it. And here, just every time I click there, it goes to the other slide, but just trying to move so that you can see it. But if you can imagine it, so for example, like 2020, right? She had the retrograde in Gemini. And in a second, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that so you can apply it to your chart. But right here, 2020, so she has her new moon conjunction. Then after that, she goes out, and then she has her full moon Venus in 2021. Then and that's how she's drawing the pentagram right there. And so she's 2022, she has another retrograde, and then she forms that, then she goes out, and so on. And this is how she draws. She conjuncts in only 5 signs, but the pentagram, as she conjuncts, continues to shift. These are the 5 signs in which she is currently making those conjunctions to the sun. And so seeing what points in your chart you have those conjunctions, because if it's a new moon, new Venus, it's creating a reset moment for you, wherever it's landing in your chart. And wherever you're experiencing this, the full moon Venus is also where you're coming to a time of fruition. So we're going to connect that in a second, but just wanted to show you these images. And you can see more about this cycle if you're curious to learn more through AstroSeek to know exactly where she's going to be. These are both printouts from AstroSeek. And so here is the image of Inanna Ishtar, just like the Mayans connected the underworld with, the beautiful stories of the Popol Vuh and the hero twins and how they went to the underworld and then they reemerged. A lot of these stories are connected precisely with the cycles of Venus. And one of the beautiful stories from ancient Sumeria, ancient Babylon, is the story of Inanna Ishtar. So this is a story that they have the written records for that would pretty much trace Inanna's descent into the underworld, all of the gates that she would have to open, which are in a way connected to her chakras as she descended, and then she reemerged. So this is a slide here to connect you with that. And so the energy of the lover. Venus spends 9 months in the morning star position, and then 9 months as the evening star, and then begins a new cycle. In Sumerian mythology, these 2 positions were regarded as lover and warrior. The lover and warrior are 2 sides. I have to be able to move this here. Okay. Are 2 sides of the same coin, as love without the desire to protect and take action is not love at all. Being a warrior doesn't mean fighting just to fight. It means standing up for something you care about. It is about defending versus attacking. When Venus is in the warrior position, we are called to invoke something that feels like Joan of Arc, Eris, or Xena energy. All of these women are symbols of fighting for a just cause. While in her lover position, so more like the evening star, Venus remembers her ability to rest, relax, and receive. She identifies with being loved and loving and appreciates the mutuality of care that arises when she is in touch with herself first. And so here it is, just before we connect now to our journey, just a few things for you to think about. Here we're connecting with the mind still, and I know this has been a lot of information, but in a moment we're going to disengage the mind and just connect to the energetics of how this has landed for you. And so that's why we'll be doing a shamanic journey, but just connecting you. And again, if you have your chart, so a look at the most recent Venus retrograde, which is the new Venus morning star seeding cycle. So the last Venus retrograde occurred in August of 2023. Venus disappeared from the sky for about a week and made an inferior conjunction to the sun. New Venus at 20 degrees Leo, meaning right at that moment, Venus was between the Earth and the sun. She then reemerged as a morning star in Leo. So where do you have Leo in your chart? We're going to ask that question in a second, where she was for about 9 months until the end of April of 2024. Looking back at what this most recent morning star seeding cycle, so new Venus, may have meant for you. So look at the area of your chart where you have Leo. What house is Leo in? What planets or angles do you have on or near 20 degrees of Leo? These are the areas of life where you have likely been experiencing a reset, a new beginning, a new experience, or a new cycle beginning. You will see these come to fruition in 4 years when Venus has her superior conjunction in Leo in August of 2024. So again, when we look at the chart, it's like these things may happen immediately when we're looking at the other planets, but this longer term cycle of Venus just kind of like gives you this impression of the longer chapters of your life and what's happening. And you can track it as well. You can see every 4 years, these conjunctions and what was happening in your life and how these patterns start repeating. And you more or less see very similar cycles when you're taking a look at this longer term transit of Venus. And now a look at the most recent Venus underworld, full Venus, evening star fruition cycle. So we just went through this last conjunction of Venus, came together with the sun right now in June. So in Gemini, so Venus and the sun came together in Gemini. That's when Venus had her reset point with the sun. And since then, she's been now distancing herself from the sun, and shortly we're going to see her as the evening star. So that means she's in an 8-year cycle now. The point started by Gemini, right? So looking at those stars. So in June of 2020, so here it's an exercise for you to look a little bit back in time. In June of 2020, Venus and the sun came together in their inferior conjunction, the new Venus phase, starting a new 8-year cycle for Venus. This past June 2024, 4 years later, Venus and the sun came together in their superior conjunction, full Venus phase at 14 degrees of Gemini. So what's seated for you in June of 2020? What feels like it's coming to fruition now? For clues, look at the area of your chart where you have Gemini. What house is Gemini in? What planets or angles do you have on or near 14 degrees of Gemini? These are the areas which may be coming up for activation in the next few months with Venus as the evening star. This cycle will come to completion when Venus draws the full 8-year pentagram in June of 2028. So again, and then she begins a new cycle in Gemini then. And so that's at a personal level, and at a collective level, just bringing your attention to here, what it means for us as a collective. What does it mean that Venus rises and sets and does all of these things, right? That the Mayans were able to connect with different forces and understand when when she's rising in this, maybe closer to this constellation, as you saw, there were 5 different columns and each one was associated with a different god. So they would understand that each cycle meant something different. When Venus was becoming a morning star, it was connected to this force of nature. When Venus was coming for her next cycle, it was connected to this force of nature, and that allowed them to feel and expect a little bit. So in modern times, we connect them, of course, in our Western understanding, we connect them to the constellations, the 5 points in which she is emerging as a morning star. And the beautiful thing is that as we begin this 9-month cycle of the evening star, again, she's going to go in March, she's going to become retrograde, and she'll reemerge again as the morning star. And as you saw, one of the points was Aries. And as the pentagram shifts for the next appearances as a morning star, she will reemerge in the constellation of Pisces, which is a sign of exaltation of Venus. And in one of those points has also started shifting between Scorpio and Libra. So it's like the star is shifting in a way to help us and support us in our connection to Venus, because Libra, Taurus are the home signs of Venus, and Pisces is the exaltation of Venus. So for the next 100 or so years, she's going to begin rising as one of the morning stars in Pisces. The last time Venus did this, she started doing it in 1774, and last time in Pisces was in 1870. So what was happening here, you can see this beautiful chart. It's from Kale and Castell at Venus Alchemy. So you can see more or less the date. And again, if you want to screenshot and see it, how she's going to be rising as her morning star phases for the next few years. But we're going now, the last retrograde was here, it's in Leo. And that's the sign, the degree at which she emerged as a morning star. And here it's the degree at which she is going to emerge after the next retrograde cycle in Pisces. So it's going to be around March 29, 2025, when we'll begin to see her as the morning star again. So what does that mean for us as a collective? This is in case you want to, again, understanding that time is cyclical. And time is, the patterns in the sky repeat themselves. And so the last time we were going through history in a similar cycle was around the Romantic era. Venus was rising in Pisces in 1774, from 1774 to 1870. And quite coincidentally, perhaps you've been, hearing all about the entry of Pluto into Aquarius and how Pluto is going to be entering Aquarius for the next 20 years. So this begins a new era for us. The same thing was happening during those years as well. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, 1778, 1798. And there's a beautiful connection between Venus and Pluto as well, because it takes Venus about 240 years to shift from one sign to the other, and it takes Pluto 248 years to go around the sun. So they're aligning right now, again, in a very similar energy that we were in those years. And so just leaving this here for you to see, if you want to take a few moments to read this and let that come in, and see how we maybe, and again, this is a new cycle. There are different planetary alignments. It doesn't mean that the cycle we're coming to again is going to be exactly the same, but it may have some differences. And at the same time, how are we going to be doing it the same? And how are we going to be doing it differently? So just taking a pause here for you to see the slide. And then just to summarize, it just means it's a time when we're connecting, just like we did in the Romantic era, to the times of, just connection to the other realms, to the mystical. And that was a direct response to the Age of Enlightenment. So it's a question as well. Are we going to an era where that's going to be perhaps a direct response to the era of technology? And where we're heading for, and why we are feeling more called than ever, perhaps, to reconnect to the earth wisdom, connect to the mysticism, connect to the other realms. And so now taking it back to where we started, which is the hummingbird. Just wanted to show you this image of the hummingbird, which is going to be connecting us with, we're going to be connecting with as we begin this shamanic journey. And also showing you this. So this is an image. It's ARP-142. It's about 300 million light years away toward the constellation of the water snake Hydra. And look how that beautiful, beautiful like constellation galaxy, because that's more like a galaxy, and it was formed because these two galaxies started to like interact with each other. And as you feel, like you can see one galaxy pulling the other into itself, and they say eventually they are going to merge into one galaxy. And this is taken a photograph by the Hubble, a beautiful hummingbird. So this is also where we're going to be journeying to in just a little bit. And there, that image for you to see it. The image of the hummingbird galaxy. So now I'm going to close the slideshow. I'm going to put a little bit of I'm going to put a link in the chat that if you wish, you can play in the background, and inviting you to just relax into your space, inviting you to relax, or however you wish to do it. If you want, you can remain seated or you can lie down, but we'll take about 15-20 minutes or so to just journey out and see the guidance that you receive as these cycles emerge, and just an opportunity for you to create your own connection with the cosmos. So I'll press escape here, and let me just bring this over here and place this in the chat. So this is, let me just highlight this again and place it in the chat for you. Stop the share here and place this in the chat. It's just an option for you to play that in the background if you wish, or if you just want to stay in silence. That's okay too, however you wish to connect. And so now inviting you, number one, to take a deep breath. We've gone through a lot of information right now, and your mind has taken you, to beautiful connections as your neural network connected to all of this information. But now it's time to connect with our soul and with our heart as we go on this journey to the cosmos and to the sky, and in connection as we arrive to this beautiful hummingbird galaxy. So taking a few deep breaths, I'm going to do 3 deep breaths with you, connecting that breath to your heart, doing a couple more deep breaths as well. Just allowing yourself to relax. And transfer your consciousness from your mind, your beautiful mind that works so hard to make the connections and help you understand everything, and transferring it now to your heart. Just lying down, relaxing. Whether you're sitting down and you want to imagine that you're lying down, whether you're lying down and imagining yourself now relaxing into the earth, imagining yourself now in this beautiful open field connected to Gaia, connected to our beautiful host, Mother Earth, she who takes us into this dimension. Thank you, Gaia, for welcoming us into your body, into your physicality. Thank you for embracing us now and protecting us as we lie down into your grass, into your field. Keeping us safe now while we begin to transfer our consciousness now into the universe. So as you lie down, imagining now that you're relaxed. If you want, you can place your hands to your heart. You can place both of them on your heart. You can place one into your heart, one into your belly, or you can leave them right where you wish to leave them. But any position that to you feels safe and comfortable and connected to your body. Taking that deep moment, allowing your body to sink deeply, deeply into the earth. And imagining yourself, your soul, your energetic body now beginning to detach itself from your body and started to walk to the middle of this valley, to this tree of life that is so deeply rooted into the earth, and also whose branches reach very high up into the sky. And so as you walk over now with your consciousness and your energy into this beautiful tree, imagining yourself walking into the tree, going up through its trunk, so effortlessly do this as you go up to the trunk and reach the branches. And as you're standing there at the very tippy top of that branch, you look down into that tree knowing that it's deeply connecting you into the earth, and you look up at the sky and you begin to see the sky as it is without the atmosphere, just looking up as you would see it from the moon, filled with all of the stars, as you would see it perhaps also from the nighttime on a clear night, going up and seeing it. And before you begin to journey up into the sky, you look at yourself and you see that there are two cords connecting you to this tree. One is a beautiful cord of silver representing the moon, and the other is a cord of gold representing the sun. And these two beautiful archetypal forces of nature, our mom and our dad, our father and our mother, will connect you deeply and keep you safe as you journey upwards. And so you take a jump and you jump up, 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 knowing that there is no gravity at that moment, and this jump will take you up, 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 up into the cosmos, with those beautiful two cords continuing to connect you to that tree. Going up, 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 and you see the moon in her waxing phase right now, that we just had this beautiful new moon in Cancer. And as she's journeyed through the constellation, she is now in the sign today of Libra. The beautiful energy of the evening star, and a beautiful sign ruled by Venus. So you pass by the moon and you see her, and you continue your journey. As you fly, 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 you now connect to Venus. And you see Venus, she's far away, so you have to journey. She has just, as you look at the sun, you pass by Mercury, and there she is. There is Venus, just emerging from the beams of the sun. And you pause and you connect with Venus. There you are, just in front of Venus. And as you are right there with Venus, you look back and you see the moon and you see the earth. And you are in awe of this beautiful connection between these three archetypal goddesses, in such perfect synchronicity with each other, guiding us, the feminine, in beautiful, harmonic connection with the masculine, our sun, and all of the other beautiful masculine archetypal energies. And you invite both energies to come into you, the energy of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine in their highest vibration. So pausing here for you to be with Venus and listen to her messages if you wish, allowing just for a minute or so, just for you to be with Venus and listening to what she may have to tell you as she begins this star phase as the evening star. Taking a few moments more with Venus before we continue the journey. As we continue our journey outside of the solar system, we call in the beautiful energy of Hummingbird, who has been with us all of today, all of this presentation, especially because today in the Mayan calendar, the beautiful Mayan calendar, we are in the energy of Ik, which is the energy of the hummingbird. So allowing you to connect to this energy of the hummingbird, almost imagining that perhaps you yourself become the hummingbird. And we begin to fly out of our solar system, out into the Milky Way, flying out, seeing our solar system becoming smaller and smaller. And then perhaps you pass the Andromeda Galaxy, you see it as you continue journeying out billions of light years away as we continue our journey towards the Hummingbird Galaxy. Past Andromeda, spiritual sun Sirius as well, we passed before. So deeply in the energies of Sirius as well, as we are in the month of Cancer. Sirius connects to the energy of that. Continuing your journey out. And now as you're in this beautiful, vast universe, you feel the embrace of the creative forces, and you understand that this universe is full of life, full of energy, and this is the universe from which you came. You are made of this stardust. You are made of these stars that you pass by. You look at these galaxies left and right and up and below, everywhere. Fly billions of years away now from the Earth. And there it is. As you approach, you begin to see that beautiful hummingbird shape take form. And you know you're arriving at this beautiful galaxy. You're amazed and in awe of the beautiful, divine, creative energy of the universe. So alive, so pure. And so as you approach, inviting you to do as you wish. Do you want to circle this galaxy? Do you want to go inside? Do you want to go above? Do you want to see what it looks like from below? What does your soul wish to do as you arrive? So, inviting you to now connect with this galaxy, with the energy of the hummingbird. I will also now be quiet to allow you this moment and time of connection. Taking a few more moments, a few more seconds. Inviting you now. So beautiful to be here with the hummingbird, with these energies. So beautiful to know that these energies exist, that they're always there, ready to connect with us because they are a part of us and we are a part of them. So perhaps taking another circle around the hummingbird before we begin to make our journey back to Earth. Now circling back, begin to fly back. Take one more look at that beautiful galaxy. All the beautiful energy that it's connected you to. Begin to fly back, looking at your beautiful cords of light, the silver cord and the sun cord, the moon cord and the sun cord, the silver cord and the golden cord, pulling you back, calling you back to Earth. Because it's so beautiful to be out here in the universe. We are here incarnated, and so we begin to journey back to planet Earth, feeling those beautiful cords calling us back and feeling our hummingbird wings also flying back, seeing all of the galaxies again, all of that journey, places of our star brothers and star sisters. We arrive at a distance, we begin to see our beautiful Milky Way, beautiful home, Milky Way. And there she is spinning, welcoming us back to our beautiful patterns of creation, inviting you to bring all of the messages from the cosmos to create beautiful plant patterns with this beautiful galaxy. So flying in, you orient yourself, you locate our solar system at one of the beautiful arms of this galaxy, and there it is. You see it brightly, our sun, welcoming us back like a GPS point in our solar system. There she is, Venus again, on the other side of the sun. pausing for one more message from Venus. Here now, saying farewell, saying, see you soon. So happy I can see you now from the sky of Earth. Passing by the moon and feeling those cords. Pulling you back to Earth, looking at her from a distance, her oceans, her earth, her clouds, so full of life, so full of vibrancy, so connected to the rest of the cosmos. You feel those cords guiding you back to the tree. You land right there on the branches. And before you start descending, you take one last look at the sky, seeing all of the beautiful constellations, even the constellation of Hydra that we were just so close to through the Hummingbird galaxy. Thank you, beautiful sky, beautiful cosmos. Thank you for this connection to you. For the cosmos and the earth are one. We all come from the same place. Thank you, thank you. And so you begin to descend down through the branches, down through the tree trunk. Look at this beautiful tree of life connecting you back to earth. You look around and you see her mountains, you see the valley. So beautiful to be connected to your body. And you see that beautiful body there waiting for you, resting, relaxing, embraced by the earth. And you sink your consciousness back into your body, back into this dimension, back here with beautiful Gaia, with her beautiful Pachamama, feeling so connected to the skies of the cosmos as well. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back. Allowing you for a couple of more minutes of integration. If you like to continue playing that YouTube, if you like to write anything down. And in a few moments, we'll open up the floor for sharing, or Mayumi, if you would like to guide me as to what you would like us to do next. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for this beautiful presentation and this guided journey. So, yeah, I do have a few questions as well, just to bring it back to all this, this breadth of work that you have been doing. Is a lot of, I can see that you have studied this extensively and that you know a lot about this. And I know also that astrology these days has become a lot more popular. There's a growing interest. And thinking to myself, I was also interested, but it's of course very natural thing, because the Asian peoples, they were always looking at the cosmos as the stars were really guiding them, right? For their agriculture and travel and any information that they may help them to sort of navigate for the future. And I know that you've already talked about this, but I just want to ask you, like, how this sort of Asian technology becomes so much more relevant, and how does it apply to our modern day. And you've already talked about these individual charts and how you can look at the collective, but I just wonder if you can say something more about this.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayumi. Thank you, and welcome everyone back. I see some of the beautiful comments, and I'm so grateful for them, and I'll look forward to reading them after our time together. But yes, what a beautiful question, Mayumi, and how we can apply that. The invitation truly, as we are in these times, is to connect back with the cosmos. Our ancestors have always been connected to the cosmos, and there is something, a truth that is happening that perhaps all of us are perceiving, that is to connect back with the stars and from our perspective here from the earth. What happened, with the age of rationality, the age of science, the age of sometimes where everything had to be empirically proven, is an age where perhaps for the past 100, 200 years, we have connected to that scientific era where everything required proof. And if I can't see any measurable quantity of proof that this is real and this is true, I'm not going to believe it. So in a way, what we're invited to do as we connect with astrology, as we connect with the shamanic healing arts, is know that there is something that we can't see, and that doesn't make it less real. So when you connect to your chart, when you connect, for example, to astrology, when you connect to the cosmos and you start perceiving these patterns and understand the mathematical beauty of the earth and the cosmos, it's all about that and your own connection that you begin to develop. In a way, just saying, no, I'm not going to say no to this because, the world or the physical world is telling me that I shouldn't believe in that, or that it's hocus pocus, or that it's, pseudoscience, because in a way, like astrology began to be maligned in the past 200 years. But your birth chart is there for you, and everyone can connect with it. It's your own personal guidance. And I would love to see a future personally where this is taught in schools, reading these symbols, that the most basic class would be, this is the symbol of Saturn, this is the symbol of the sun, this is your beautiful map. And this is the guidance for your life. So are we going there? Are these new transits, perhaps as you saw from that slide, as Venus emerges now in Pisces, which is the sign of the mystical, the shamanic, the otherworldly? Is that where it's taking it? Is that the intention now for this new era? And what about Pluto in Aquarius, the sign of humanity, the sign of the collective? And as these two work together, is this, and how can we, each of us, work intentionally to bring that into reality by the work that we are each doing with our own selves, through our own paths, and as a contribution to the collective? That's all we can do, really. Just focus here on our own vibration, our own intention, and what we're bringing to the world. And from there, help to be of support to the collective shifts. That's what I would say. Thank you, Mayumi.
Thank you. Thank you for answering this. Yeah, it's really great. Thank you. I do see some questions coming in. Before going in that, I just want to also ask you a little bit more about, as you were saying, that this ancient technology has been around for thousands of years. This is what the ancestors were sort of relying on. And you were also talking about these plants. And I know, right, there was also this sort of medical astrology back in the times, right? And people were really counting on how the stars were aligned and which plants to use for certain, health issues as well. And I just want to ask you a little bit more about, as you approach like these chart readings and you see these maps and you can see where life flows better and what may be the challenges that arise, right? It is kind of an accurate map, like a blueprint, as you said, when we were born. How is your approach in your practice when you sort of look, at these charts? Because I know you offer this in your practice as well. So would you like to share a little bit about that as well?
Yes, of course. I'm happy to. So yes, what I love to do in the practice. So I trained with classic astrology, of course, all the rules, the meanings, the square, the angles, the conjunctions, and everything that it means from the Hellenistic tradition, the ancient astrology tradition. So I have my base training with that. But what I loved about coming to alchemical astrology is that connection to the shamanic world. So before a reading, that's what I do. Just as if I were to connect to a shamanic healing session, it is connected with the guiding forces, with the spirit guides. I always set an intention to connect with the higher self of the person of which I'm going to be of service to. Because again, this is the map of the person. It's their beautiful map, their beautiful sacred intention. So my intention is always to connect with that, asking for the support, the guidance of my spirit guides, guardian angels, to connect with the higher self and the spirit guides, guardian angels of the person coming to this reading, so that that session can be revealing, opening to them, and it'll feel like a remembrance, like an aha, yeah, that's right, of course, this makes sense, I remember this intention, and it'll just feel like that, and an understanding sometimes of the timing. So it is, and of course, we do different times, different levels and everything, but it is always with that sacred intention that whether we're together for 1 hour, whether we're together for 3 hours, that moment will feel like you receive the shifts, and that you look at your chart from that perspective of the quantum level, not as this static shape, but fluctuating shape, and the ability for you to choose, am I going to focus on these challenges, or am I going to start shifting my attention to this powerful gift? For example, a conjunction that you might have of Venus and the Sun in your chart. And what archetypal forces is that invoking? How do you connect to those archetypal forces for guidance? As we were talking about, for example, Mars is the energy of, it's connected to the energy of Scorpio, it's connected to the energy of Aries in the classical tradition. But say, for example, Mars connected to Aries is connected to fire. So that's, you look at a chart also very with the elements, right? And so if Mars is connected to fire, in the tradition in which we learned, the Andean tradition, fire is connected to the north, and Hummingbird is connected to the north. So for example, if your Mars is challenged a little bit, or you're called to work on your Mars for this lifetime, you can perhaps call on that beautiful archetypal force of the hummingbird to be with you. And all of that you can see in your chart. So that your chart, again, is not just these symbols, but it's like a picture of the sky that's connecting you to the archetypal forces of the universe. And we all have these special guides there in our chart waiting to work with us. And it is also that understanding that we are in this fractal universe, right? And it's like we have the macrocosm and the microcosm. And in a way, we're these fractal representations of the macrocosm. So sometimes in your chart, you can see, okay, what are the big forces that are trying to make their way through or be expressed in this lifetime, and seeing yourself as a vessel of representation for those archetypal forces, connecting to those archetypal forces. And so as we go deeper into the chart as well, we can connect with the Mayan energies. And each of the 20 Mayan energies, this is more for cacao readings, if that's interesting, but you can also see the animal, the power animal that's there to guide you and connect you. So it's there. That's why, for me, that's why I've loved practicing alchemical astrology, because it feels very energetic, moving, and like a magic that is there, ready for us to alchemize and transform. That is the purpose of alchemical astrology, our transformation, and the guidance that we have in our chart for our own evolution and transformation.
That's really, really great. And how you sort of describe this as well, like how, you can transform by reading these charts. And I also thought that you really explained really well this sort of intersection between shamanism and astrology, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. And can you maybe say something a little bit more about how that is all really related and completely integrated actually in your practice?
Yes, I mean, for example, and we do different alchemical processes. If for example, and here I draw from three different traditions, which is the ancient Inca, the ancient Maya, the ancient Egyptian. So the ancient Egyptian, principles are connected with our birth chart. Now, if you're interested in cacao, then it's the blending of the Egyptian and the Mayan, right? And we do a reading with cacao. And then if you want also, for example, to work with the energetics, then we work with the ancient Egyptian, ancient Mayan, and ancient Inca to work with your chakras, right? And so that just depends on how much time do you have, what you would like to work with. But all of them always include connection with your chart and the ancient Egyptian forces of Hermetic. That's what it is. The ancient Egyptians were all about just that transmutation of the energies and reaching that highest vibration. And when you're in Egypt, that's what you feel. You're in those temples, you're in the Great Pyramid, and you understand that what they were doing at those moments, and the priests and priestesses were to lift the vibration, lift the frequency, and they would have sound frequency in those temples. And that's in a way what we're called to do and be in, elevating our frequency and doing everything in our daily life. These beautiful sacred sites around the world exist so that we can connect to them, right? So that we can, and it doesn't have to be Egypt, doesn't have to be Peru, it can be right here. Well, I'm in the United States, but going to a place of deep connection with the energy of Gaia, where you feel that beautiful cosmic serpent of creation, the Kundalini energy on a sacred site, and connecting to that. So again, my practice has everything to do with the energies and just shifting, creating shifts in the psyche, because it's right here when we connect it to this that we then begin to create the shifts in our life. So much happens in our subconscious, so much happens in that unconscious world that we sometimes don't realize, right? And we can write our intentions, or we can put our vision boards or try to manifest something. But if it's coming sometimes only from the conscious mind and your subconscious is running a different program of lack or limitation or a different pattern that you're running there, it's very hard to see it come to life in the physical world. So when you look at your chart, you're also connecting with your subconscious, understanding the codes that are there and shifting that, so that from there you can shift the momentum tunnel, for example, as we learned.
Beautiful. I love how you sort of explain this, like, yeah, the above is like here, right?
Yeah.
And how it is sort of, yeah, projecting as well. So thank you, Cynthia. I saw a great question here about how can we tell if our Venus was a morning or evening star at the time of our birth?
Yes, wonderful question. And I have this here ready to place on the chat for everyone. So this is a place where you can, there are beautiful sources, teachers on Venus. I have personally connected with the work of Ariel Gutman. She is absolutely wonderful. I recently had a reading with Ariel Gutman, and it was just absolutely wonderful to connect to the star of Venus and where exactly it's landing in your chart and how that is interacting with your personal planets, angles, and everything. And so that also gives you guidance. So I invite you to go to Ariel Gutman's website. And with this link right there, you'll be able to see. So how you find it is like this. So understanding that, every 9 months or so, Venus and the sun come together. And they're going to come together, and then it's going to form the morning star, and then they're going to come together, and it's going to be the evening star. So it is, all you need is your birth date, year, day, month, year. Don't need the time, location. That's more for like the detail reading. But all you have to do in this chart that I just put in the chat is find the conjunction that happened right before your birthday. And this is through Ariel Gutman's website. I also connect very deeply with Kaylin Castell, and I'm also going to be starting a journey with Kaylin Castell now with the Evening Star, because I'm so excited to follow this journey now for the next 9 months. But so in this chart, it's looking at this chart, for example, just going down the line, and I'm going to do it here with you. For example, Mayumi, is it okay if we do your birthday as an example?
Sure.
So February 1978 for Mayumi, right? So we go down the chart, And then we find right there that the evenings, that the conjunction, the date, so all you have to do is find the date before your birthday, and that will give you your Venus star point. So for example, in Mayumi's case, the conjunction that happened right before her birthday was the January 22nd, 1978 conjunction. So that means, and retrograde and direct, if you see the R, that means the conjunction happened while Venus was retrograde. That means that you are a morning star. So you were born in that conjunction. The conjunction that happened right before your birthday was while Venus was retrograde, and then you were born during that period of time when she was a morning star. If you see the D, it means direct. It means Venus was direct when she made the conjunction with the sun and became the evening star right after that. And so you're an evening star. But also looking at your Venus star point and seeing how that connects to your chart. For example, in Mayumi's chart, for example, if the conjunction was at 1 Aquarius Mayumi, the one that happened on January 22nd, 1978 was at 1 Aquarius, it's taking a look to see what do you have at 1 Aquarius as well, you know? And because she continues to move, and again, this is now like deeper processes of understanding the Venus stars, she continues to move around every 2 degrees. If, for example, you have your sun at, say, for example, like 5 degrees of Aquarius, you know, right now that arm where you were born in Aquarius has already shifted to Capricorn. So if you have something at the last degrees of Capricorn, that star that's approaching. So depending on whether it's approach your Mars, depending it's whether it's approaching your Venus, your sun, it indicates different things. But that is a specific Venus reading. So for that, I recommend going to Ariel Gutman or Kaylin Castell, who are specific to, they do readings specific to the Venus star. So I would welcome you and, you know, to do that, or encourage you to do that if you're curious to see how the Venus star interacts with your natal chart and what that may mean for you.
Thank you, Cynthia. I know that we also discussed a little bit about the difference between morning and evening star. Would you like to share something a little bit about that?
Yes, and that's what it means. Just going, for example, with what the Mayans, you know, the Mayans, because when she reemerged as the morning star, she was right there, super bright. You know, she had just passed between the sun and the earth. So when she would emerge as the morning star, and you would see her a few, you know, right before the sun comes out, you would see Venus. She's very strong. She's very powerful. Her energies are at the highest force. So anytime they needed to do something, you know, very, even sometimes if they had to go to war, it was always in connection with the morning star. That's when like they would feel the strongest. And then when she came to the evening star, and in the other 9 months, it was more like a time focused on agriculture. They would connect it to the rainy season. It was also a time like that, the fruition, the moments of peace. And from what I've done in studying also some documents from the UNAM in Mexico, is that they have been able to see sometimes these key historical dates, very important when they had to go, again, if they had to go to battle or they had to protect or do something important for their society, it was always tied to the morning star. So again, it's almost like we're in this new phase right now where we're in the evening star phase for the next 9 months, connecting to what that may mean for us, connecting to, you know, maybe a time of receivership, a time of assimilation, as we prepare for her reemergence as the morning star next March.
Beautiful.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're kind of getting closer to the end. So I just want to ask you, Cynthia, about if you want to share anything about your upcoming offerings as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. If anyone would like to reach me, please feel welcome to reach me. You can reach me via Sacred Planet if you like. It's Cynthia@wearesacredplanet.com. I also have an email set up with hello@Hathor Cacao. And which is hello@hathorcacao.com. And what I'm most deeply connected with right now is offering these new moon cacao circles, which are always in connection with what's happening in the cosmos. And so it's these circles that we create together with friends in the shamanic healing arts. Our upcoming one is going to be the new moon in Leo. That's going to be, and because Jocelyn is a Leo, she's going to be guiding our new moon in Leo circle. We always do our circles at 2 p.m. on Sundays. It's connected to this beautiful global meditation that happens at 7 p.m. in the UK, and it's connected to Pam Gregory and all of that. So that's the intention of holding it on Sundays at 2 p.m. And it's always the Sunday closest to the new moon. So you can see that in the events section of the Hathor Cacao website, inviting you to be with us for that circle, and also for the September 1st circle, which is going to be the new moon in Virgo circle, and beautiful Mayumi is going to be guiding us for that circle. I'm so excited to be in connection with you, Mayumi, because I know that you're going to be in Peru in August and connecting to all of the energies of the new Stas. So precisely for the new moon in Virgo, which is all of the energy of Virgo and the priestess, it's just going to be so beautifully timed to connect with you. So I'm so grateful to you, Mayumi, for being with us for the new moon in Virgo as well. Thank you. September 1st, if you would like to save the date, Mayumi, and our next one, August 4th.
Thank you, Cynthia. I look forward to that as well.
Yes.
And thank you for inviting me to that.
Thank you, Mayumi.
And lastly, is there anything else that you would like to say or share to our audience to close our session, Cynthia?
Thank you, Mayumi, for inviting me to be with you. And to everyone here, I look forward to connecting with you. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for making time during your Saturday, during your weekend. I can see some of your faces now. I had it in single view before, but I'm now able to see all of the gallery view, and I see you guys. So thank you so much again for being here. I hope some of the information shared here was helpful for you, and I'll look forward to seeing you. And again, thank you for the invitation to be with all of you. This is my family. Blessings to you, everyone in Shamans Directory, for all the work that you're doing. And thank you for connecting us all. Thank you so much, everyone. Wishing you a beautiful, beautiful start of the evening star cycle of Venus.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for everything that you've offered to us so generously and being with us here. It's always really wonderful to see you. And thank you for this beautiful, rich presentation that you prepared and all of this wisdom that you have offered to us to really understand where shamanism meets astrology. Is really, really powerful. Thank you. And to all of our viewers here or who will be viewing this perhaps later, all of the links that we have put in the chat will also be listed underneath the video. So thank you once again for being here and to share this beautiful time in this unique space together. And we look forward to see you at one of our next live events. And I wish you all a wonderful day and weekend.